Can you please give some details about the executive order? I know that the White House has just released a document. I haven't had a chance to review it.
Well, we can talk about that later. It's an executive order on immigration. We want Americans to have the jobs. We want Americans to have the health care. We want to take care of our citizens first. We have to. It's a very powerful order. It's for 60 days. At the end of 60 days, or maybe even during 60 days, I'll extend it or not, and I'll maybe change it. I might modify it. And we're talking about people, and also, by the way, people that are coming in illegally. Now, as you know, because you've seen the numbers, our border, our southern border, is very, very tight. It hasn't been this tight in years. It's being helped by 160 more than that miles of wall that are going up. I'm trying to get to 450 by the end of the year, 450 miles. And we'll have 530 miles early next year. And that's really great. It's fully funded. We have all the funds, and the Army Corps of Engineers is doing a fantastic job. Same people that did Javits Center, as you know. They're doing a fantastic job. So our southern border is very, very tight, for good reason, for very good reason. We're also being helped by 27,000 very good soldiers from Mexico, and I want to thank the President of Mexico. He's been terrific in many ways, including on what we're doing with COVID. And as you know, we have a very good trade arrangement with Mexico now, which we didn't have before. So I want to thank the President of Mexico, in particular for the 27,000 soldiers. They're doing a fantastic job.
For healthcare workers, sir, you want to talk about the exemptions for healthcare
Yeah,
workers?
we want to protect our healthcare workers, and that's one of the other reasons we're doing this. Yeah, please, Jennifer.
Back on the immigration EO, can you say, is it just for green cards, for green card holders? Or
Green cards, we're
is it also for
subject.
people seeking temporary work visas?
It's subject to change. We have some people coming in, for instance, helping the farmers. We want to have the farmers take care. They've been coming for years and years, and they're helping our farmers, and they've been coming in for years. We don't want to do, the border's been turned off a number of times over the years. And you know what happened? Our farmers all went out of business. They were out of business. They couldn't farm. We're taking care of our farmers. Nobody ever took care of farmers like I take care of farmers, including the $19 billion that we're dispersing to farmers because of some very good things that happened.
Subject to change because some of your advisors are saying there could be a problem with it, or subject to change
No,
because
just
you want
it
to
might be
extend?
modified. It could be modified next week, in 2 weeks. It could be modified in 2 months. No, we may modify it as we go along. But right now we have a very powerful immigration ban, but it could be modified, meaning made tougher or made less tough. We don't want to hurt our businesses, and we don't want to hurt our farmers. Very important.
For gym owners and tattoo parlor artists and barbers in Atlanta and in Georgia generally, would you advise them to listen to you and not to their governor?
Look, I'd like them to listen to their governors, all of their governors. I have the right to do if I wanted to clamp it down, but I have respect for our governors. They know what they're doing. I think, and as you know, Brian Kemp, governor of Georgia, I worked very hard for his election. He beat their superstar. He beat the superstar of their party. I know the people from spas and beauty parlors, tattoo parlors, bikers for Trump, a lot of tattoos. I love them. I love these people. And barbershops. These are great people. But you know what? Maybe you wait a little bit longer till you get into a phase 2. So do I agree with him? No. But I respect him, and I will let him make his decision. Would I do that? No. I'd keep him a little longer. I want to protect people's lives. But I'm going to let him make his decision. But I told him I totally disagree. Okay.
As you would like to say, what do you have to lose by helping them do that?
Well, I am doing
and becoming the king of testing?
And let me just say, we are the king of testing already. There's no country in the world that's done more. Not even close.
0.2% of the population has been tested. Is that good enough?
I just said there's no country in the world that's done more. And we have tests that have already come out that are going to be introduced very shortly that will do it more. My problem is this: it's very much of a media trap. Whether we did 2%, 5%, 50% or 100%, it'll never be enough, no matter what. But your stadiums, as an example, sports, going to be the way they used to be. I mean, I told one of the owners, he said, "Do you think I should take out seats?" I said, "No, you shouldn't take out seats. We're going to have it the way it was. We're going to be back. This virus will eventually be gone. And if it should show up in the fall, we're going to put it out very fast. We have great people. We're going to put it out very fast because we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about how to deal with this, and we'll put it out very fast. But testing, it's like no matter how well you do, you can always say more. With the ventilators, they either have them or they don't. In fact, we went to one meeting. Who wants a ventilator? One governor said, we'd like 25. 25, you got them. Who else? Nobody spoke up. That was 4 weeks ago. So that was great. The problem with the testing is, and I said, if we test 350 million people, you'll say, no, we want them to have a second test or a third test or a fourth test. Not everybody believes as strongly as some people in testing. Some people want to do testing because they think it's impossible for us to fulfill that goal. That's easy compared to ventilators, as I've said. But we have a tremendous testing capability, better than anybody in the world right now. And every day it's growing, and it's growing very substantially. These doctors are very talented people. They've seen testing all their lives. They've never seen anything like we've been able to do. So we're going to give everybody what they want with the testing. But again, testing, and I've said it from the beginning, the actual test has to be administered locally. You can't do from Washington or faraway locations federal testing nearly as well as you can where you have a governor and he has mayors and they have representatives and they know the back of a Walmart. Put it in the parking lot in the back of a Walmart, or put it in a certain location in different states. They're doing it beautifully. It's working beautifully. The relationship I have with the governors, and Mike has, and we all have with the governors, I would say other than one or two, but even them, they don't complain. They're not complaining. So we're doing tremendous testing. And ultimately, we're doing more testing, I think, than probably any of the governors even want. Okay.
Can we talk about Iran? You put out a message this morning making a rather big announcement for our military when it comes to Iranian aggression. Are you going to change formally rules of engagement for our U.S. military so that they can engage?
We're covered 100%. We don't want their gunboats surrounding our boats and traveling around our boats and having a good time. We don't want them anywhere near our boats. And so you know the order I gave. I don't think I have to say it again, but I've given that order. Under the Obama administration, it was taking place all the time. Under my administration, I gave this order early on and nothing happened. They were very nice. There was no problem. But then I noticed yesterday they did that in a much lighter form, but they did that again. I said, we're not going to stand for it. So if they do that, that's putting our ships at danger and our great crews and sailors in danger. I'm not going to let that happen. And we will. They'll shoot them out of the water.
So the U.S. military does not have to change its rules of engagement in order to follow your...
No, that's the rules of engagement. That's a threat when they get that close to our boat. And they have guns. They have very substantial weapons on those boats. But we'll shoot them out of the water. Okay? Please.
Thank you, President Trump. If possible, I'd like to ask a question to Dr. Fauci and then a very different one to you. To Dr. Fauci, today the CDC and the USDA said that the first pets in America had tested positive for the coronavirus. What does that mean, and what should the public know about that?
Pets?
Pets, 2 pets.
So that question was asked before, but I'll be happy to answer it again. Certainly, animals, pets, can get infected. Big cats in zoos have been reported to be infected with coronavirus. There's no evidence that the virus is transmitted from a pet to a human. Now, obviously, is that impossible? I mean, biologically, anything is possible, but there's no evidence whatsoever that we've seen from an epidemiological standpoint that pets can be transmitters within the household. So it's not surprising. I mean, when you have viruses that can infect multiple species, isolating it from an animal doesn't necessarily mean the animal is transmitting it.
What about the lion in the New York Zoo?
Yeah, well, that's the lion of the New York.
How did that happen?
It probably happened. I don't know, Mr. President, but I would imagine that one of the zookeepers probably had an asymptomatic infection, took care of the animal, gave him some food, touched him or whatever, and that's how he got it.
Thank you. And President Trump, my question for you, President Trump, my question for you is, earlier in these briefings, you talked a lot about giving Americans hope, and you wanted to focus on that. But now that the crisis seems to perhaps be lessening, I wanted to ask you about accountability. And of course, millions of Americans became familiar with you as the tough boss who fired people for doing a poor job. I want to ask you about 2 specific things. There's a report from Reuters today that the HHS secretary put a former dog breeder in charge of day-to-day coronavirus efforts. to begin with, and also on
You what?
Reuters reported today that Alex Azar, the Secretary of HHS, put in a former dog breeder, that was his most recently former job, in charge of day-to-day operations of the coronavirus.
That I don't know, but you just tell me something. And what's the second?
And the second one is on face masks. Taiwan has a bigger population than New York State. Early on, they had universal wearing of face masks.
No
Here-
problem with face masks if the governors want to do that. You know, we ordered, I don't know if you know, 500 million face masks. We have hundreds of millions right now. And if people want to wear them, it's up to the governors. If the governors want that, it's up to, now it's more appropriate in some states, obviously, than others. You have the big plains and you have certain states where it's much less necessary. But no, that's up to the governors, and we have that very well covered, I think, face masks. But
People are wearing masks.
we have hundreds of millions of face masks, and we have at least 500 million. That's a lot. We'll have them very shortly.